It's been a while since I last talked about a book that I was reading. So today I'm going to have to share the latest book that I've been reading for the past couple weeks now. And it's interesting and it's still relevant to today. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. For those who are not familiar who I go by, I'm one Chief Compadre, and you're watching Chief Compadre TV, where on my channel we talk about savings, investing, politics, and even story time. So today I decided to talk about the latest book that I've been reading for a couple weeks now. It is called The Color of Law. And basically, the author is Richard Rothstein, and the theme is a forgotten history of how our government segregated America. Now, the reason why I decided to read this book is because I've been listening to NPR, and they had a segment on the radio talking about systemic racism and how for many decades there had been a system in place by the government to segregate blacks from whites, and not only that, but at the same time redline certain neighborhoods and devalue them while others are increasing in value. So that and my history growing up in the Bay Area. Now, remember, when I first started this channel, I talked about growing up in San Francisco. And when I was growing up in San Francisco, I always wondered about why around the city that you know exactly where whites live, you know exactly where blacks live, you know exactly where Asians live, you know exactly where Spanish live. And that always was a concern to me, even though I always heard in the background that San Francisco is a diverse city to grow up in. But there are things that are not normally talked about, and that's how different neighborhoods are somewhat segregated, meaning that each community, you know exactly where there's an Italian neighborhood, you know exactly where a African American neighborhood is, you know exactly where a Chinese neighborhood. Now, with the segment on NPR, it not only talked about systemic racism and how different communities were segregated so that communities would be able to increase value in certain neighborhoods, but recently there was a story about a couple, and the woman was black and the husband was white. And I believe that the first time they had their home appraised, it was decreased in value because I believe that the woman who was black was there while her white husband wasn't. And then she decided to have the house appraised again, but this time what she did was had her white husband do the appraisal with the appraiser. And not only that, but she decided to take down her part of her side of the family, which was black, took all the pictures down, put only white pictures up, and it got a lot of publicity during the pandemic. And I want to show a little segment of that so you can get an understanding that not only that this happened years ago, but it's still going on today in many cases. So watch this and then I'll come back.
Two very different real estate appraisals and a stark divide between black and white. This family's Ortega home jumped in value by 40% after they removed all signs of black culture from inside. They say this is living proof that people of color face a substantial wealth gap. On Your Side's Troy Kless joins us live tonight with their story.
Well, thank you. The family says that this home here to my right was initially valued at a price far below their expectations and far lower than other homes in this neighborhood. So they did an experiment, and they say the result demonstrates the literal cost of racial bias. The Ortega area with lush houses everywhere. Abena and Alex Horton say they wanted to refinance their mortgage. They say their first appraisal did not go well, far lower than their neighbors.
What's wrong? It's like, well, it's way under, this is just weird. So we're going to order another one. And, I obviously had a bunch of questions.
The bank scheduled a second appraisal. Horton made some interior changes.
So I thought that most likely it would make a difference if I took down the family pictures that we had in the home and, basically any markers that there were African Americans living in the house.
The difference between the first and second appraisal, $135,000.
Variance, and we just felt that, maybe it was outright incompetence, but it seemed like targeted incompetence, and it seemed like incompetence that to us was suspicious.
She is filing a complaint with HUD to see if there was a systematic undervaluing of her home. Horton says racial discrimination in housing has been under the table for far too long.
But I do think that if there is unconscious bias in the world, it's going to seep into the appraisal business, and it's going to impact Black wealth and Black generational wealth.
Now, this is not by coincidence. This is actually by design. They specifically do this in order to have whites separated from everyone else, where in their communities, mostly in the suburbs, is where they can actually increase the value of their neighborhoods and only be catered to those individuals who look the same, while others in different communities are dealt with a situation where things may not be taken care of, are devalued, and all right, so there you have it. You see firsthand that even today, things of that nature is still happening. So you have to be mindful out there if you plan on getting your house appraised, or you plan on trying to move into an area that's probably majority of a particular group, that you may experience occasions that may want stop you from actually being able to live in certain areas. So you have to be mindful of that, and at the same time you have to be mindful of appraisers lowballing you just because of your race. So tell me what you think. Tell me if have you experienced this, or you know anyone who also experienced low appraisals, or been blocked from actually relocating to an area that is predominantly a certain group that may not be as inviting as you may think. So I've been reading this, and if you are interested in talking more about this in other segments, just put a comment down below. Make sure to crush the like button, become a customer to my channel, and make sure to hit that bell for my latest content. And until then, have a great day.